lost the fucking case. That doesn't mean that like we can't make up our own minds about it. This is like, first this was Kevin Spacey. First it was fucking Kevin Spacey. Now it's Free Diddy. What's happening, bro? Like, I've seen the tapes in my own two eyes of Diddy beating the fuck out of his girlfriend. I saw it in a goddamn bathrobe. The fuck? It's not. No, it's not. It's not my.
And the lawyers would have brought a lawsuit against them a long time ago. So if what people are waiting for is some smoking gun that someone famous, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, and so on, was with these young women, I don't think there's any such list, and he never intended any blackmail.
Well, let me ask you, if everything you say is true and you've laid it out quite precisely, why is none of this believed by the supporters who say, I don't trust the government, I don't trust DOJ, I think there's something there, and those who are elite are getting away with something else?
He's blinking like they're flashing lights in his face. He's just like, he's blinking so hard anytime he has to say some fuck shit. He's Morse coding that he's lying.
That she was reviewing. I think their position now is they reviewed the file. There's no smoking gun about blackmail and so on. They also came to the conclusion that he committed suicide. I don't happen to believe that.
Why?
I can't prove it and they can't prove it. I don't believe it for two reasons. Anecdotally, as I say, I met with him 9 days before. I know that during the course of that week, he was giving instructions right up until Friday based on the defense that we had talked about. He gave me another assignment that was forward-looking. But more importantly, Michael Baden, who to me is the top forensic medical examiner in the world, went through an independent medical examination with him just after he died.
I mean, it's his lawyer. Of course, his position is that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. He's arguing in that. He's arguing that, right? Isn't there like a... I mean, he brought in a forensic examiner to specifically make that case.
With the assistant New York City medical examiner. And Michael Baden said that medical examiner couldn't come to a conclusion. And he, Michael Baden, has never in the tens of thousands of autopsies he's done seen injuries like Jeffrey Epstein had consistent with suicide. I also have had calls from people who had jail cells nearby. I've seen the layout of the jail cell, that sort of thing. I'm also surprised the Justice Department never interviewed me, who had seen him earlier, or other people. Anyway, it's my belief, but I can't prove it, and I don't have a conspiracy theory on who killed him.
Well, a DOJ Inspector General report did cite a combination of negligence and misconduct and jail staff failures that contributed to an environment that led to Epstein's death. But it states the New York medical examiner determined that Epstein died from suicide. That DOJ IG report adds the FBI determined Epstein's death was not the result of a criminal act. So I'll see what they might respond to what you've said as well. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Laura.
I want to talk more. Nice to see you too. I want to talk more about this with Scott Jennings, who is a CNN senior political commentator and also host of the Scott Jennings Show on Salem Radio, and Alencia Johnson, former senior advisor to the Biden 2020 campaign. All right, you heard the way that he laid out just now, and of course he's said all the things that I'm sure the DOJ would like people to believe, but it's not sticking for whatever.
Oh, she don't believe it. Oh. Okay, I'm back in. Okay, Clinton News Network. She said, I'm sure the DOJ would love for everyone to believe what he's saying. Yeah, she was looking right at him. She was looking at how much. What's your opinion on the suicide thing? Oh, dude, he got fucking clapped. Get the fuck out of here, suicide. Okay, dude, sure. Yeah, he just got real sad all of a sudden. It was like, oh, man, I'm outed as a pedophile. Oh, like, dude, what are you talking about? He went to jail last time. No, I don't believe he fucking committed suicide in the incredibly specific time frame where the fucking cameras happen to not be working and the guards happen to be sleeping, where literally all the planets aligned. And he was able to commit suicide successfully in a suicide cell, in a suicide watch cell. And then the government decided to release the camera footage of not even his cell, by the way, just the cell block that he was on, not showing his room suspiciously. And even that footage had 3 minutes missing. Get the fuck out of here, dog. Are you crazy? Because the cameras that were looking at his fucking door were broken. And it wasn't the last time this had happened. This is the second time this has happened. The reason why he was in the fucking suicide watch, the suicide ward, was because he was put into a cell with Officer Nicholas Tartaglio, this fucking roid junkie cop, former cop, who was a psychopathic drug dealer who, let's just say, tried to kill him as well. But then they also said, oh, that was suicide. He tried to commit suicide. And guess what? We don't know the exact details of that one either because the cameras were broken on that one too. Oh no, broken cameras twice for one guy. They move him around and the cameras break again. What a crazy coincidence. What an incredible coincidence. It's just so wild. Also, the same fucking institution that he was locked up in had not had a single fucking suicide for the past 30 years. Jeffrey Epstein had to be the first guy. Wow. Yeah, just like Jean-Luc Brunel, Jeffrey Epstein's associate that created MC2, like modeling agencies, where he routinely sex trafficked women for Jeffrey Epstein. He also got arrested in Paris, also committed suicide in a jail. What the fuck is that? What are the odds? What are the odds? Guess what? The cameras weren't working there too. I am losing it. Wow. What are the fucking odds, dude? Isn't that crazy? How does this keep happening?
Reason. Why is this the political hill that?
Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein's former cellmate cleared of wrongdoing an incident that preceded his death. Oh, yep, Officer Tartaglione, baby.
So many are willing to die on. Why is it that there are so many people who say, nope, I don't believe it, I don't trust it?
Well, it was taken as an article of faith for many years. That
what was?
That the idea that
you're sounding like a conspiracy theorist. The Jeffrey Epstein stuff is so funny because you have to be a conspiracy theorist to believe that he killed himself. Okay, like every single thing that I just mentioned to you, as far as like cameras literally breaking suspiciously, no matter which cell Jeffrey Epstein is in, whenever they keep saying that he actually killed himself or tried to kill himself. And then you just, like, you have to sound insane. Everything that I just described to you, as far as, like, cameras breaking, his associates also, quote-unquote, killing themselves, but in Paris, all of this stuff, like, yeah, you think all of that happened on its own? Like, it was, there is a reasonable explanation for this? Because I don't entertain conspiracy theories with regular frequency. I love conspiracy theories. I cover them all the time. I'm fascinated with it. But there is one thing I don't do, which is entertain conspiracy theories. Think of the, I don't lend it any sort of credibility. This, on the other hand, is not a conspiracy theory. This, on the other hand, is basically just a conspiracy, like as in to conspire to kill Jeffrey Epstein, because Jeffrey Epstein was conspiring with numerous intelligence agencies to do a blackmail sex trafficking of minors ring.
Information that we're not seeing as the general public, and people said that, bought into it. And so Donald Trump wins the election. He appoints Pam Bondi, he appoints Dan Bongino, he appoints Kash Patel. These are all people that this same audience has, confidence in. Mm-hmm. We trust their judgment.
Like, please, guys, explain to me why prolific pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, that literally had been in prison already and had been released after his sweetheart plea bargain deal that no one has ever gotten, okay? Please explain to me why he was closely associated with not one, not two, not three, not three, but four former Israeli prime ministers. Can you please explain that to me? Why was he the middleman that connected Benjamin Netanyahu, the current prime minister of Israel, to J.P. Morgan by way of Jamie Dimon? Why was Ehud Barak, the former Israeli prime minister, literally at his house in 2016 trying to cover his face. Really bad at spycraft, by the way. Just a horrible job trying to cover his face, coming out in and out of Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion. Why the fuck was he hanging out with Bill Clinton all the time? Why did Bill and Hillary Rodham Clinton routinely go to his mansion in New Mexico called Zorro Mansion? Why did they always go there? Why were former CIA heads literally talking to Jeffrey Epstein all the time, long after it was known that he was a pedophile? What reason could there be for this? Why is some random fucking dickhead who was like a math teacher that was hired for the Dalton School by Attorney General at the time of Jeffrey Epstein's assassination, Bill Barr? Bill Barr's father hired him to be a teacher at the Dalton School. He didn't have the qualifications for it. Why did he mysteriously get, with no degree, an endless amount of money from the likes of Les Wexner, for example, the owner of L Brands, Victoria's Secret, and many others? Why? Why did he have quadrillions of fucking dollars, dude? Why? No one has ever been able to explain why he had quintillions of dollars. Literally, no one explains it. There is no explanation for it. How did that happen? How? Power of manifestation? He found it. Felix Biederman has an explanation for it. He calls it, he just won the lottery every day. That's Felix Biederman's explanation. Is Jeffrey Epstein was just so good at winning the lottery. He just won it every day of the week. Yeah, what was it? Is it that he was just like really giving really good tax advice? Like, why the fuck would Bill Gates talk to Jeffrey Epstein, man? Bill Gates, one of the richest people on the planet. What the fuck is Bill Gates doing with Jeffrey Epstein? What is he doing with Jeffrey fucking Epstein, dude? Was he getting tax advice from Jeffrey Epstein? What kind of lived experience does Jeffrey Epstein have? What can he offer to Bill fucking Gates? Was he just a great conversationalist? Stephen Hawking.
And I think it's just hard sometimes to believe something for a long time and then be told, you know what we believed is not the case. I think
who is that hurt though? If that's the changing view, if the idea is, I don't trust what I've heard right now. Does that?
Yeah, like look. So here's one other thing. How many Dems actually realize that the crank theory is that Epstein blackmailed politicians on behalf of Mossad? Trump's own Labor Secretary, Alexander Acosta, who was a U.S. attorney for South Florida when Epstein was prosecuted, was told to lay off because he belonged to intelligence. But yeah, sure, it's a crank theory because it doesn't fit the worldview of Atlantic Magazine. Felix Biederman, the logical, sane opinion. Jeffrey Epstein made hundreds of millions of dollars by winning the lottery a lot. He befriended Mandelson, Clinton, etc. due to his great manners. After that, the DOJ erroneously believed the then unknown conspiracy that he runs blackmail for intel and gave him a completely unprecedented deal for a horrifying series of crimes. After that, accused rapist and private equity titan Leon Black gives Epstein hundreds of millions so Epstein will help him with his taxes. Then he killed himself in jail. This is what you want. Like, if you are to believe the media narrative on this, if you are to believe the New York Times on this, what Felix is saying is what has to make sense. Jeffrey Epstein, once in a lifetime lottery winner. Nobody knows exactly how he made so much fucking money. Nobody fully understands it, okay? People just keep handing him the keys to the castle over and over and over again, okay? Literal prime ministers are attending his home. Like, they're going to his fucking home, even though he was already at that point outed as a fucking pedophile, okay? It's so crazy. They just keep doing it. Why? So charismatic. The most charismatic person of all time. Prince Andrews, okay? Fucking princes are going to his house. All of this stuff happens. He gets the most unprecedented deal for a pedophile sex trafficker it will never happen again, okay? Like, it's crazy that, like, this is not even something you can get out of as, like, a super wealthy guy. Like, Harvey Weinstein went to prison. You know what I mean? He's super wealthy. He was super powerful. He went to prison. You know what I mean? Jeffrey Epstein was doing Harvey Weinstein shit to minors, bro, to minors. And he was allowed to leave the prison. How the fuck did that happen? Have you always held this view? What? Yes. Or is it a recent change? What? No, I have. You've been in here subscribed for 2 months, chatter. No, for years I've talked about this shit. What are you, crazy? Epstein was such a popular subject initially because there was literally no way to deny something was going on. I just don't get what the point of even pretending that it's some fantastical QAnon thing at this point. The only people who are even openly amenable to it are probably real life friends with Glenn Dubin and Leon Black. Like, it makes no sense, man. It makes no fucking sense. Forgive me, I only know the basic outlines, but what is the ostensible reason for his wealth? Generic investments. He bought CSGO skins before anyone knew there was going to be a market there. He also, as Felix also points out here, not only had hundreds of millions of dollars from other disgraced sexual assaulters, but he literally got power of attorney over Les Wexner, the owner of L Brands, okay? The guy who owns like Victoria's Secret and shit. Like, think about that. Think about that. Why the fuck would a billionaire just literally give him unlimited power and control over all of his financial assets, bro? That doesn't make... What, no one is supposed to ask a question on this? Like, this is not weird? Hassan, more like Hassopstein. Keck. But like, if you understand that he didn't commit, then why do you think they aren't withholding the docs? Like, do you think some outside force killed him, but at the same time, there's nothing major in those files? What? No, they're never releasing the files. Wake up. What the fuck? Trump is literally saying they're not releasing the files. Why would they release the files? They killed the fucking dude. He was the only loose end. And I suspect, like, they just are convinced that Ghislaine Maxwell won't say anything. Maybe Ghislaine Maxwell will also get in her feelings soon. And we'll see what happens then. There was never a moment where I thought that they were going to fucking release the files. But like, if you understand that he didn't commit, then why do you think they aren't withholding the docs? The angle that these people take is so obvious. Oh, you were saying the opposite thing. They say he didn't commit, but they also aren't covering it up because they don't want to seem too in line with the admin. Yeah, okay. You were making the unconvincing argument that the administration is making. Yeah, it's like Jeffrey Epstein, innocent, okay, but also killed himself because he was really sad. But also he's innocent and there was no one else, even though we know hundreds of people have gone to his island. Hundreds of incredibly wealthy people have been on his private jet, including former prime ministers of Israel, other leaders. Your live reaction to Epstein's death? Oh, come the fuck on. Epstein's dead? Come the fuck on. Like, there was never a moment where I entertained the notion that there was a fucking sex trafficking ring operating out of a goddamn basement of a fucking pizza shop in DC, okay? There was never a moment where I ever entertained the idea that, like, Wayfair was selling children. As a matter of fact, many people have yelled at me throughout the years for never entertaining idiotic conspiracy theories. Jeffrey Epstein is not one of those things. That's a real thing, okay? Like, that's crazy. It's a crazy... There are psychotic conspiracy theories hallucinated by people who are mentally unwell. And then there are real conspiracies Okay, not a conspiracy theory, but an actual conspiracy to conspire to commit crimes. And this is one of those things where it's like there are so many fucking people. It doesn't make any sense.
Harm Trump and the Republican Party? Does it harm Trump in particular?
Look, I don't know. I mean, there are certainly people that have legitimate questions about what happened. I mean, I've heard now 2 lawyers, both your guest tonight and Arthur Aidala, who I was on with Friday night, both raised questions about whether they believe he even committed suicide. So you can see there are actually, in the know people who are still raising legitimate questions about this case. So you can see why the general public would also have those questions. At the same time, if you vote for Donald Trump and you have trust in his judgment and the people he's appointed, at some point you have to trust their judgment. I mean, you put them in charge of this. And I think what Doug said is important to know. The Biden people had this stuff. If there was something incriminating about Trump, it would have come out. And also now the Trump people have this stuff. And if there was something incriminating about, Bill Gates or Bill Clinton, it would certainly have come out. And so I guess at some juncture, if you trust the people that you voted for, you trust the people that you voted for.
Well, let me ask you, I want to play for you as well some of what the supporters this weekend were saying during the Turning Point USA conference. They told CNN this about the Epstein file. Listen to this, Valencia.
I think they're going to maybe give us pieces and maybe not the whole thing and think that that's going to suffice. And I don't think people are going to be quiet about it until they really do it. But who knows if we'll ever know the true story.
Well, I think that if they don't release the Epstein files, whatever J.D. Vance says then is irrelevant because it's like everybody's going to take it as like a lie because of what Donald Trump did. But I think J.D. Vance wants these files released as well.
And this is the first topic that all of us as Americans, not as Democrats, not as liberals, not as Republicans, are actually lining together and saying we all want the Epstein files. And I said, come on, Donald, give us those files.
Well, Matt, you hear what they're saying, Valencia. Obviously, there's an issue about the trust, about transparency, and about how this might impact the ability to set things straight. You also heard from the daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, who was saying that, suggesting there might be some need to
Come on, Donald. I love that guy.
have more transparency. Is the political pressure working to Democrats' advantage?
Although James Elefante is a deeply creep-ass human, no matter what the fuck's in his basement, no normal person makes jokes about babies like enough. What?
Lately there's been a lot of...
Dude, come on. Is Jamie Dimon on the list? Yes. Yes, of course Jamie Dimon's on the list. Bro, JP Morgan literally had to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein for their direct involvement with Epstein. $290 million.
This was at a time in which it would have behooved Mr. Epstein to give up every wealthy and famous person that he knew in his own defense. And so specifically, I asked him about Donald Trump because, they had been publicly associated in the past, and Trump threw him out of his club years earlier. He said absolutely not, and it was important to him that people not cast aspersions on Donald Trump and others who we spoke about by wrongly associating him with any of his activities. Remember, Jeffrey Epstein ran...
Wait, what? I'm sorry, what? You're talking about a fucking prolific sex trafficker of children, right? See, you don't understand. He had a moral side to him. See, you don't understand. Jeffrey Epstein, prolific sex trafficker of children, but also a person who really cared about the truth and did not want Trump to be associated with his crimes at all.
with a lot of wealthy and famous people, people whose names, everybody knows. The fact that they might appear in an address book doesn't mean that they did anything nefarious with him. He had a photo array, for example, at his home with some of these rich and famous people with different stories for each photo, which I very much enjoyed hearing, quite frankly. For example, a picture of Bill Gates with a dollar bill. I asked, what's that all about? He said he made a bet with Bill Gates. What was he going to bet Bill Gates? So he bet him $1 and he won. Those kinds of things. But that doesn't mean that any of them had anything to do with the women. I would say one last thing I want to say about this, this call for a special prosecutor and so on. There is a cottage industry of lawyers representing victims against Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein estate. You can be sure that if any of these famous people who haven't been sued already were with these young women, the young women would be able to identify.
Why is CNN having Donald Trump and Steve Bannon's lawyer, who also happened to be Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer? Like, what? Shouldn't you call in the question this guy's reputation here? Old rich men, Ort Gove Richmond. That's not. Why'd you lie about Diddy? Diddy never raped anyone. It was proven that everything was consensual in the trial. Do you think 12 jurors all thought he was innocent of rape off vibes? There was no evidence of Diddy raping anyone. Stop reading headlines. Perhaps I personally have an opinion that the trial was a fucking sham. Are you Diddy? Like, who the fuck? What? Excuse me. O.J. Simpson very clearly was exonerated of murder. Why are you saying that he still definitely did that shit? Really fucked up. It's kind of crazy because, like this is perhaps the most guilty, worst guy. He said free Diddy. Okay, man. P. Diddy absolutely coerced people into doing sex acts in many of his parties. It's crazy to me that you assume. It's crazy to me that you're like, well, the jury didn't seem to think so. So I guess, okay. It's so obvious that he had a fucking incredible legal team and was able to do tremendous work against the prosecution, which overextended. And they